walk through it. Like one big question that I have is like that I think most people have is that the way you portray market socialism is basically capitalism, where all people just work in cooperatives and all companies are corporately owned, and like
how would that be capitalism? Because under a cooperative model, economic firms are owned collectively and controlled democratically. But that's not capitalism.
Yeah, I mean,
Under capitalism, economic firms are owned privately and are not controlled through democratic means.
But you could do that right now. Like you could open, you and your friends could open a company, right? And just make it work as in a cooperative, like as a cooperative.
I think that that's probably something that could be done, but I don't think that addresses the broader issue.
Why probably? Yeah, that's
because
exactly
there are
just
institutional barriers to the cooperatives favored method of firm organization under the capitalist mode of production.
You think that right now the system is actively acting against cooperatives?
Systematically, yes, I do think so. I think that, and the data suggests that when people come to banks for business loans and the businesses that they're trying to structure are cooperative, the rate at which they get loans is actually lower than the rate at which traditional firms receive loans. And this is due to banks perceiving that cooperatives are less successful, which the data does not point to. It points to them being as, if not more successful than traditional firms. So there is some systemic bias against cooperatives, particularly in the financial industry. And I think that everyone would agree that in any sort of market-based system, firms of whatever sort are going to need access to finance in order to operate properly. Sure. So this is a major hurdle to the development of cooperatives.
Sure. Do you think that banks are just like not educated enough about cooperatives?
I think that the problem is largely going to be that banks just have the wrong ideas about cooperatives. Banks just favor traditional firms because it's sort of like it's tradition. This is the way we've always done it, so this is the way we're going to continue to do it. And things that deviate from that we don't know much about, we're just going to kind of ignore because that's not the way we've always done it. But I also think that there's going to be overarching interests that affect the development of cooperatives, because obviously the development and the expansion of cooperatives in the economy is not going to be something preferred by capitalists.
Before we go there, so banks have an interest in loaning to successful businesses, right?
That is correct.
So like it would be a huge blind spot on their side if they don't give out the loan to the more successful. So their main business, like their main thing that they do and that they have to be good at, is that they figure out which business is going to be successful, right?
Well, I don't think that banks know which businesses are going to be successful.
But that's their profession, right? Like if someone like that's their role, like not the bank, like not the whole bank, but the part of the bank that gives out these loans, and like that's their main business, and their main goal is to give out the loan to the successful companies, right? That's their business
giving
model.
Out loans to the firms that they believe are likely to be successful.
Exactly.
I think that yes, that's what they try to do.
The goal is not to find the company that they think is going to be good. The goal is to find the company that is actually good, that is actually going to succeed.
The company hasn't formed yet. That's why it's trying to get loans from the bank. So nobody knows whether it's going to be successful.
But that's their job. Their job is to predict that, right? That's
what I'm saying. Businesses that they predict will be successful will get loans.
Their job
but they could be wrong. That business could fail.
Obviously, but the better a bank is in finding companies and in predicting if a company is going to be successful or not, that determines whether they're a successful bank or not, right?
Well, banks do so much more than just that.
Wait. That department, that the success of the bank in
so you're talking about specifically
money.
The business loan department, not the whole bank as a firm.
Yes, that's what I said before. Yeah.
What about them?
So
what about
the business, so the major determining factor of the department that gives out business loans is how good they are at determining whether a business is going to be successful or not, and how successful. Right?
I think their success is going to be measured on the returns on the loans that they give out being successful.
But that is determined by the businesses. And I think that's going to be
independent.
By the success of the businesses.
It's like even a failing business still has to pay back its bank loans.
It
so
might
whether
not
that
be able
involves
to
some
do that.
form of, then it files bankruptcy. I mean, there's
Wait, what are you telling me? You're telling me that it is not dependent. The success of the department for giving out business loans is not dependent on the success of the companies they give out loans to? Is that what you're telling me?
Not entirely. It's going to be whether or not the banks can have an ROI on the loans that they give out.
What else? They have already fixed
most of the time.
What else? Like if the business succeeds, they're going to get their money back. If the business does not succeed, there is a high probability that they're not going to get their money back. Who do you think is doing better?
They're still going to get their money through processes like bankruptcy filing and other ways that these banks can regain the lost funds.
Wait, but that's crazy. Like you're telling me that you who's more successful bank? The bank that is predicting a successful company in 9 out of 10 cases, or the one that is able to predict a successful company in 3 out of 10 cases?
Well, I think in the real world, a bank's success is going to be more than just the success of the companies it gives loans to. So I couldn't determine the success of a banking firm.
I'm just saying bank
strictly on
I'm
that.
just saying bank. You know what? Wait, you can't act like you don't know that. Like I know you know that we're talking about the department that.
What is it that I don't know?
When I say the bank, we are right now strictly talking about the activity of lending out money to small businesses or to businesses in general. Right now, for the purpose of this discussion, we act as if, because that's the only thing we care about. Right now, we don't care about any other things. And even in the investments, maybe like banks, what you're talking about is that banks also do investments, right? That's also a type of loan, right? That's also like that also is determining whether an investment is a business is going to be successful or not.
I mean, investment can play on a business's success, but most people don't invest unless they already know that the business is successful. Like if there's a business rising in some industry, it's probably going to see more investment because it's rising, because it is profitable, it's making money, and that's why people would invest in it, because there's going to be a return on that investment, and they can rely that on the fact that there is going to be an ROI.
How do they what's the best metric of finding out if there's going to be an ROI and how high it's going to be? That depends on the success of the business, right?
I have no idea. I don't trade stocks. I don't invest
in businesses. That depends on the success of the business, right?
Well, I think largely that's what it depends on. If a business is showing success in a market, then it's going to see greater investment.
What else is it dependent on, other than the success?
I don't
of the
know.
business?
I don't invest in businesses. I don't follow finance. I don't know anything about finance. I study economics, not finance.
Okay. You're actually making me explain this. So this, I mean, I don't know. It's. So you actually don't think that there is a correlation between a successful bank, quote unquote bank, because we're just talking about the people that are giving out the money for businesses. So you don't think that there is a correlation between being a good predictor of successful business and being good at lending money, making money from lending money?
I wouldn't really know what those correlations would be. I think that the success of businesses oftentimes depends on the kinds of loans that they get. Because I think whether or not you can develop a successful business depends primarily on the capital that you have initially when you start the business. The more capital you have, the more likely it is that your venture is going to be successful.
Okay, I have a question. So I have a business, okay? And I want money from you. You're going to give me money, right? You're the bank. And I come to you Okay, and I present you what first of all, what would you like to see from me in order to give me money?
Well, I think lenders typically have to see a well-formed business plan.
Okay, why would you want to
I
see a
think
business plan?
so that they know what it is that the bank, because when the bank loans money to people trying to start a business, to a business venture, it's effectively the bank investing in the business. So if they want to know that there's a meaningful concept behind the business that outlines what sort of market the business is operating in and
Why
the
do they want
ways
to
in
know
which it's
that?
operating, because that's how businesses make money, is by
No.
operating in markets.
Okay,
And if
but
the business doesn't make money, the bank sees no return on that investment that it's
okay,
effectively making into the venture.
thank you. So basically, what they're analyzing is how likely it is that this business is going to be earning money, right?
I mean, that seems really, really simplistic, but generally speaking, yes.
Why you know that you keep doing what I was talking about at the beginning, right?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
You keep saying that there is nuance without ever justifying that there is nuance.
Well, you're not asking me what the nuance is.
No, you have to. We already agreed to at the beginning. We already agreed to yes, no, I don't know, or nuance, but with justification. No nuance, no saying that there is nuance without justifying that there is nuance. That's what we agreed upon.
So what nuance do you want justification
and I got the one that you claim that there is. I tell you, I ask you a question. I ask you, isn't the job of the person that is lending out money, isn't their job to determine whether a business is going to be successful or not? And you say, yes, but with nuance.
I say generally speaking, because there's no way for them to know that it's successful or not. All they can do is work from the information about the venture that they have, and they can say, this looks like this would be a successful business venture, and therefore would make for a reasonable investment. So just saying, do they determine whether the business is going to be successful or not? Well,
predicting.
There's nuance there because they have no idea whether it's going to be successful.
Do you think I mean that? What do you think I mean when I say determine? Obviously, I mean predict, right?
Well, I don't know that because I don't take the predict and determine to be the same word. So I don't know that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Predict. So isn't it the job of a person that lends out money, isn't their primary job to predict whether a business is going to be successful or not? Yes or no?
For the most part, yeah, I think so.
You did it again.
Yeah, because I'm not a lender, dude. I don't know the nuances of the job that they do.
If you don't
but I would bet that there's a lot more to being a lender at a bank than determining this business is going to be successful, I predict, and this business is not. I don't know what all of the nuances are because I don't do lending.
But that's fine.
Just to be specific, I didn't come here to talk about lending at banks. I don't know a lot about that. I've never done it. I've never talked to a lender about what they do. I don't know what they do on a day-to-day basis. I don't know all of the nuances that are present in their job. But I do know that some of what they do is making determinations on whether businesses seeking loans are likely to be successful or not, so that they can determine whether or not we're going to give those loans to those banks. But I'm not going to sit here and act like that's all a lender does, because it's probably not.
Okay. Do you know why we're talking about this?
No, I have no idea what this has to do with whether or not socialism would be successful.
Because I can explain it to you if you want. Because I have asked you, why do you think that cooperatives why you can't just go ahead and do cooperatives under a capitalist system? And you said because there are systematic things that are preventing us from doing that. And one of the things that you mentioned is loans not being given to cooperatives and banks saying that having a bias basically against cooperatives. So basically you claim to know quite a bunch of stuff about
no, I don't. That claim doesn't require intimate knowledge of lending.
No, but you started this whole topic about talking about loans being given out to businesses. And now
that was one example of institutional barriers that do exist.
Yeah, it was. I asked you for an example, and that was your example. So now we're talking about your example. I think your example.
Well, we're talking about what lenders do and what their job is, which I don't think is related to what I said.
I can explain to you perfectly what's the relationship, because you are basically pretending that the people that are sitting at banks and giving out loans are dumb and do not know. No, can you
I am not
let me finish?
Can
you let me
Notice
finish?
I said it was a systemic issue.
Can you let me finish? Can you let me finish? Thank you. So you are basically pretending that they do not know about the success, that they do not know that cooperatives are actually really successful companies, but
I never said that.
Okay, why are they not giving out loans, according to you?
Because cooperatives are not the preferred mode of firm organization under the current economic system. And as a result of that, banks are just a bit more hesitant to give. Cooperatives get loans from banks. I never said that they're like not getting loans. It's just they don't get loans at the same rate or of the same amount traditional capitalists get. And that is because the traditional capitalist firm is the preferred method.
So you think
banks are more likely to invest more in things that they know work rather than things that sometimes have worked. We don't really know a lot about this because it's not prominent. That's just the nature of banks.
But
there's a lot of examples that could be brought up.
But you claim to have evidence that scientifically shows that actually cooperatives are very successful, right?
Yeah.
So why don't they have this evidence?
Why doesn't banks? Because banks don't go look up studies on the success of different kinds of firms. That's not what banks do.
That's their main business. That's why we talked about for 20 minutes. Why we're talking about the profession of giving out loans. Their main business is to predict how successful a company is going to be.
Yeah, right? And what I've said is I just don't know. I don't know anything about what lenders do, but I can assure you that lenders aren't going out and saying, let me see if there's any data on how successful cooperatives are.
You don't know what lenders do. You don't know what lenders do, but you definitely know that they don't do that. That they don't make research on different business models.
Yeah, that's not a thing that lenders would do.
You're sure about that's
research on the success of business models is something that would be done by economists, not lenders at a bank.
When I say lenders at a bank, what I mean is that they basically get their information, right? So they have to determine. So the person that determines whether you get your loan or not is fed a certain amount of information, right? They know a couple of things about the business.
They probably have access to some information, but I would bet that they're not looking up what kinds of firms, the ways in which different firm structures are successful. Again, that's something that economists are going to be studying, not lenders at a firm. Lenders at a firm are somebody that has an associate's degree in finance that works at Wells Fargo. Yeah. The people that do it are like people with associate's degrees or bachelor's degrees in finance or business management that work at a bank. Like they're not going out and looking up are cooperatives a successful firm. It's not what they're doing. They're sitting looking at a variety of loan applications from a variety of different businesses, scheduling meetings with people, potential investors that are associated with these businesses, and determining whether or not they're going to give loans.
5 minutes ago you said you have no idea what they're doing. You don't know what they're doing. And now you're listing up a bunch of things they are doing and a bunch of things that they're not doing.
I don't know what an electrical engineer does on a day-to-day basis, but I can bet that an electrical engineer does a lot of stuff related to the engineering of electrical systems. So the fact that I know that what an electrical engineer does is related largely to the engineering of electrical systems, the analysis of electrical systems, their implementation and all that stuff, does not mean that I know the actual day-to-day tasks of a specific electrical engineer at any given specific firm. There's a difference between understanding generally like what a job might include and understanding the very specifics of how that job is carried out on a day-to-day basis.
Bro, that doesn't mean anything. If you say, I don't know
what do you mean that doesn't mean anything? Like I'm explaining the difference between general understanding and specified understanding.
You're just introducing like a bunch of stuff just to make things complicated. It's really easy. If I ask,
I'm not.
Can you let me finish? Because like I already know that you're not going to agree, so that's why I'm talking against you. So you saying no, I'm not is not additional information. There's no.
Well, but you're saying that I'm doing or saying things that I'm not saying or doing.
There's
and then
there's
that's
no
just
new
not
info.
conducive to a productive discussion.
Bro, you said I don't know what they're doing, what their job. First you say
I said I don't know what lenders do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's
what I said.
First you say lenders don't give us money. Or they give us
what?
First you say lenders don't give cooperatives money. Okay?
Well,
then you
that's
say
not exactly
you
the
don't
string. That's not
then I
that's
press
not the
you on
claim
it.
that I made.
I ask you
I can
why
repeat
do
the claim that I made.
I ask you why do cooperatives fail?
Yeah, and I said as a result of systemic hurdles to their formation.
And I ask you,
and then I gave
for an example.
One example of that.
Yes,
and that was that cooperative firms get loans at lower rates than traditional firms. I didn't say banks aren't giving them loans. I said they get loans at lower rates, and they do.
Sure, that doesn't. It's basically the same thing. There's no substantial difference between the two.
That's not the same thing,
bro. If you're getting a really high interest rate, you can practically just not take the loan because you have a certain amount of percentage that you're going to gain from the business, and if the interest is higher than the business than the percentage you're going to get from the business, you're not going to take the loan. It's just not gonna happen. But anyways, so it's really easy. You say the reason is because of a bias by banks that are not giving out at the same rate as the other business models, right? That's what you say. And then I'm asking you if these cooperatives are so successful, are the guys at the bank stupid, basically?
Well, no, I don't know what
but
that
they should be giving favorable rates to cooperatives, right?
Oh, well, you claim that cooperatives aren't getting bank loans at as high a rate as traditional firms. But you also claim that cooperatives are successful. So if they're such a successful business model, why aren't they getting loans at equal rates from banks?
Yeah.
Because of the systemic hurdles. Banks just don't prefer cooperative models.
We started with the systemic hurdles. That's an example of systemic hurdles.
Firms don't make cooperatives.
Wait,
cooperatives just aren't a firm that a lot of people select when they go to start a business.
You can't use systemic hurdles
because they need investors. Now you can have investors with cooperatives, but it works a little bit differently as far as I understand. So, but yeah, it's because of the systemic hurdles that these types of firms aren't getting loans at as higher rates.
You gave an example for systemic hurdles. That was your example for systemic hurdles.
That was one example that I gave.
and basically you're ending up in a tautology where you're using systemic hurdles to justify a systemic hurdle.
Yeah, the reason they're not getting loans at equal rates is because of the systemic hurdles.
Bro, I'm asking you what kind of systemic hurdles, and you're saying loans. And then I'm saying, why aren't they getting loans? And you say because of systemic hurdles. Do you see the problem that you're running into?
No, I don't.
Yeah, then I'm asking. Then I will just ask you again for an example for systemic hurdles.
They're not favored by banks because banks prefer the traditionalist way that has been used time and again. Also, I stated
if it's more successful
when they start firms,
aren't
starting cooperatives, and so what I would argue is that what we should do is provide incentives for the cooperative model.
That doesn't matter. I asked you for an example for a systemic hurdle. You said bank loans. Then I said, why aren't they getting the bank loans? You say because of systemic hurdles.
And I explained why. Because
that doesn't make any sense.
Because they prefer the traditionalist method.
Why?
I don't know why. You'd have to go ask the banks.
Yep, but that basically means that they must be stupid. Like, they must be ignorant to the facts.
Are you saying that, like, there can't be systemic hurdles to certain things in a system or a society?
No, I obviously don't say that because I asked you for an example of that. If I would think that that's impossible, I wouldn't ask you for an example. Yeah, the example that you gave, you justified with just saying systemic hurdles. And I already asked you what the systemic hurdles are. I asked you what are systemic hurdles.
Systemic hurdles are in bank loans, and that banks do not give out bank loans at as high a rate.
And then I ask you why don't they do that?
But I also said that most economic firms that are being developed aren't being developed as cooperatives.
Why does that matter?
This is just not a model that most people know about, and it's not a model that most people prefer,
so
primarily because investors are looking for returns that increase their wealth.
Okay,
Cooperatives are less likely to do that than the traditional firm.
Bro, that is an acceptable...
don't like systems that threaten their power.
Bro, if you want to go with that answer, if you want to go with they're ignorant, they don't know, like that's what you're saying basically. They don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of ignorance about cooperatives. Most people don't know.
That's an answer that you can give. You can say the banks are just ignorant and they don't know the facts, right? And
but I'm not saying they're ignorant and don't know the facts. What I'm saying is that
you're not saying
there's
anything.
A particular business model that just isn't well known about. Like this
so
isn't something that's prominent in society, and so it isn't favored. And as a result of it not being favored,
so you know about
say,
that
by banks who give loans,
so you know about it, but they don't know about it, right?
Which is the systemic hurdle. I'm explaining myself. I don't know what you're not understanding here.
Bro, this is being recorded, by the way. So, like, all of this is not like all of the inconsistencies you run into, they're being recorded. It makes you look really bad. It makes you look really bad. It doesn't make you look good. Like you can run like with like talking fast and but it doesn't make you look good.
Am I talking fast? I don't think I'm talking
but you know what I'm talking about. Like you're not really you're not engaging with the point. So the point is,
yes, I am.
Bro, you're not.
I can go through it all again.
Okay, you want to go through it once again?
Yeah, you're saying, okay, so banks not giving loans to cooperatives is a systemic hurdle. And why is it a systemic
I'm saying
hurdle?
that?
Yeah, that's what you were asking me, is it not?
No, I'm not saying that. You are saying that.
No, that's what you were asking me. Is that what's the systemic hurdle?
I'm asking, yes. I'm asking for a systemic hurdle, yes.
And that's what I was saying. I was steel manning your position. So I have it correct.
No. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so the systemic hurdle that exists, you're asking what's the reason why this is a systemic hurdle?
No.
Cooperatives getting loans. So you're not asking that. Then what are you asking?
I'm not asking why this is a systemic hurdle. I asked you for an example of a systemic hurdle. You said loans not being given out. And then I say, that doesn't seem plausible to me. Because I think that there can only be two reasons why that's the case. Like either they have conspired against cooperatives, because you claim they don't give out loans, but you claim also that cooperatives are really successful businesses. So then either they're stupid, they're not ignorant, they don't know, okay? Or they conspire against cooperatives. That's the only two options
that I think it's probably a little bit of both. But I did explain this. I said a lot of it has to do with the fact that the cooperative model is not a prominent model in the economic system.
That goes into they don't know.
There's already a model that's favored, and in virtue of that favoritism, it gets more loans than others. The same reason how if you were to go to even today, but in the 1970s, white people got loans from banks at a greater rate than black people. Do you know why that was? Because there was a favoritism toward white people that was already present in society.
But I don't know
the
numbers.
Like there's a favoritism toward the capitalist structure.
But I don't claim to know
firms, private ownership over cooperatives. But I do also think it is a little bit of sort of just a bias against them. I think that banks know that cooperative firms are a more democratic way of structuring firms and just prefer the traditionalist structure because it helps to preserve the capitalist mode of production, which I think they have an interest toward.
So you think it's a mix of ignorance, so they don't know?
They don't know much about cooperatives.
Bro, please.
So yes.
Please, you have to let me talk also. So you think it's ignorance, but do you see that how, like, I accept, like, you trying not to validate one point, like you're trying not to stick at one point, but you're basically saying they're ignorant and they're biased, and with both the combination of both of these things, they're basically acting against their own interests. Is that correct?
I don't think that they're acting against their own interests at all. No, because I think their interests are toward the preservation So I think that if most firms in the economy were cooperatives,
please.
Did you want me to explain?
Yes, but you're going on tangents. Like you're going really.
What tangent? What tangent did I just go on?
You wanted to go on one, and I didn't allow you to.
What tangent was I going to go on?
I'm not sure yet, but it was one.
Yeah, because you don't know what I was going to say.
No, I don't know what you were going to say. I just know that it wasn't directly correlated. So I asked you a question.
No, it wasn't directly correlated to what?
Because I asked you a question, and I want to get to a point, right? And I
went to answer your question, and then you stopped me.
You interrupted me first, but let's slow down. We are not enemies here. Let's chill out, okay? So you are basically saying that they're acting against their own interest by being.
No, I'm not saying that.
Wait, against their own financial interests, because
no, I don't think they're doing that.
Okay, well, because you think that if they
well, I can explain why rather than you trying to figure out why. I could just tell you why.
Yeah, but you're going to run off. I know that you're going to go.
No, I'm not.
Off.
I'm going to tell you why I think that what they are acting in their interests rather than against them.
They don't want cooperatives. That's what you're saying, right? You've already said that many times.
They don't want cooperatives. I think that
you've already said that like 100 times.
Cooperatives to take hold.
Yes, okay. But why don't they want cooperatives? Couldn't they just be a bank with like...
I went to explain that.
Wait, man. Why don't they want cooperatives? Couldn't they just be...
Because...
Wait, man, come on. Like,
come on, let me talk.
No, I want you to let me finish posing the question. Come on, man. Why don't you think that they don't want cooperatives? They could just be the bank and have like a bunch of successful cooperatives around them. Why they could just be the only non-cooperative company in the world and just loan out money to all of these very successful companies.
So the reason that capitalists broadly do not want cooperatives to take hold is because if cooperatives were the dominant economic model, we wouldn't have capitalism because of the structure of what capitalism is, private ownership over the means of production, which is not what a cooperative dominant economy would be, given that cooperatives are publicly owned. They're owned socially and controlled democratically, such that if it was the dominant economic model, you wouldn't be operating under capitalism. You'd be operating under what I call cooperativism, which is a non-capitalist mode of production. So
why does that matter?
The capitalist wants to retain the mode of production through which he has attained his wealth and economic power. And in doing so is going to structure the economic model in a way that disfavors those other economic models that serve as a threat to his power and wealth. The owners of banks don't want to incentivize the cooperative model by giving out loans, by giving money that is used to create their development.
We got the point.
Which is an explanation of why it is that these capitalists don't want the cooperative model to take hold.
Bro, do you always talk like this?
It's a threat to them. And so their interest is, they're not actually acting against their interests by denying cooperatives loans. They're acting in their interests because their interest is against cooperatives.
Bro, I still haven't gotten an answer to my question. You've talked for like 3 minutes, but I still haven't gotten an answer. Why can't I, as a bank, I'm a bank, okay? I'm a bank, and I loan out money to cooperatives, and they're really successful, so I make a lot of money, right? So because I'm better at predicting the businesses, because I'm not ignorant about the facts, and I'm not biased against cooperatives, and I lend out money to cooperatives, and then cooperatives become the norm, and everybody, like almost all companies are cooperatives. Why is my bank being influenced by that? Is your plan to disown like this bank, to make it public, and or what's the reason why I should be afraid as a bank?
If the cooperative model was dominant, then the people who own the banks wouldn't own them. and thereby would not receive the massive sums of money that they receive.
Why not?
Because that's not how cooperatives are structured.
But
so
the bank is not a cooperative.
So you're saying, let's have an economy where everything else is a cooperative, except the banks.
No, you're basically saying that
just
cooperatives
doesn't make sense.
No. You're basically saying that cooperatives, they're just more successful. So what we do is we
as
just
successful, if not more successful.
You said more successful, but okay. So
well, no, I said as successful, if not more successful. That has been the only claim that I have made.
Okay, you don't want
about cooperatives and their success.
Okay, so which one do you want to lock in? More successful or as successful?
Well, it's both. As successful, if not more successful. Most of them operate as successfully as traditional firms. Yes. A lot of them operate but even more successfully.
But on average more?
I don't know.
That would mean on average more, right?
The meta-analyses that have been done on the research on cooperatives concludes that they are as successful, if not more so, than firms. So that is why I am saying it.
If you say a company is as successful, like every cooperative is as successful or more, that means that on average it's more successful, right?
No, I don't think that's a statistical statement, no.
If you have 5 companies, if you have 10 companies, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And these 10 companies get a 7 out of 10 rating in terms of productiveness and success, right? And then you have 10 other companies that are at least as successful or better. What will be the average? Will the average be higher, the same, or lower?
The average would either be the same or higher.
It would be either the same or higher, right?
That is correct.
Yes, but...
So it's to say that at minimum it would be the same, but it could potentially be higher.
But
I can just grant you that cooperatives are only as successful as traditional firms, and I can still make an argument for cooperatives.
But if every new cooperative that comes out is either as successful or more successful, that would make so if there is no company that is less successful than, if there is no cooperative that is less successful than a current company, that would raise the productiveness, the successfulness, right? The total successfulness of all companies, correct?
I have no idea. I'm not making a statistical claim.
Okay. So in your system where every company has become a cooperative, why is my bank not a cooperative anymore? So slowly but surely that's what you wish for, right? So you would wish for like slowly all the companies becoming cooperatives, right? And that happens
effectively, yes.
That happens by either, so companies that already are being owned by one person, they're probably not going to give up their ownership, right? So it's probably going to be new businesses that come up that are cooperatives, and we give out, as a society, we make sure that these businesses are being supported by getting loans, for example, from my bank, right? Correct so far?
Well, so in my system, currently existing firms would be incentivized to transform into worker cooperatives.
How
of
would
course,
they be
the owners of massive firms aren't going to want to give up their ownership in favor of more collectively owned and democratically controlled firms, but I would provide incentives for it.
Let's say they're just being, let's just say that the new companies, the cooperative companies are basically doing better jobs than the old companies, and are just replacing them. How would my bank be affected by that?
How do you mean?
Like I lend out money to all of these cooperatives and I earn my money, right? I earn better money than all of the other banks because I'm giving loans to more successful companies than the other banks, right?
I am so confused as to what I'm being asked right now.
Bro, you're saying that it would be smart for banks to give out loans to cooperatives, right?
I mean, under certain evaluative standards, yes, I do
just
think
under
so.
the financial, like just on the metric of return on investment.
Well, is that return on investment as we understand it under a capitalist mode of production? Because then no, it wouldn't be. But just another... under return on investment under a cooperative model.
What would that be?
That would be the money that I gain on an investment that I've made. So if I invest $1 million, but I get $1.5 million back, that's that ROI is $500,000. But that's not going to be held by just like one person who made an investment. That would be equitably distributed amongst a variety of people who have collectively made investments.
But how would that be different from the capitalist ROI? It would just be the ROI, and then you split it between
because it's not going to one. It's not going to one investor.
But it's still an ROI, right? The way you calculate, like the thing that you're getting is still the same thing. You're just splitting it afterwards.
Yeah, capitalists typically take the ROI.
So when I ask
on their investments, but if you have a collective of people investing in something, then the ROI is going to be equitably distributed amongst them. And ownership over the firms isn't going to be held by like a small group of people. It's going to be collective.
Why is my if I have a bank and I lend money to your cooperative, and I'm not ignorant as these other banks, and I'm not biased against you guys, then basically I'm doing the better business move, right? Because cooperatives are successful.
I think so, but there's a lot of wealthy investors who are not going to think so.
Bro, why are you not able to engage with what I'm asking? It's like a very simple question. It's like a very simple. The moment when you say they're biased or ignorant, that's the two claims that you made. You've said that it's a mix between bias and ignorance. You have claimed that, right?
Effectively, yes.
Bro, you're not able to answer yes or no, even though I've granted you to give two answers.
I'm pretty sure in what I said, the word yes was present. So
yeah, but you love, like you're not able to just say yes. And to just
I really don't like how you're taking the things that I'm saying and just like being extraordinarily reductive about them.
No, it's not reductive. So I've even granted you.
Reductive.
I've asked you which one is it? Is it ignorance or is it bias? And you said both. And I've even granted you that.
And then I explained what I meant when I said that.
Fine.
Right?
I said fine. And now I repeat that. I just repeat what you said before. The answer you locked in before, and now you again have to hedge that as well. Like that's not a good, like that's the reason why no one can take this seriously, because there is
I think a lot of people take this seriously.
Okay, so are you willing to say, is there a third thing? Like basically you're not able to say yes or no to the question. The reason for the bank not giving out the loan is ignorance and bias. Do you agree with that statement? Yes or no?
For the most part, yes.
Okay, then now you have given nuance, and now you have to justify it. That was the deal we made at the beginning, right? So now you have to justify, and now you have to give a third, basically another option where this is not the case, where it's neither bias nor ignorance.
I don't have to do that because I don't claim that it's anything but those two.
Wait, brother, you have committed at the beginning of this conversation that you will only answer questions with yes, no, I don't know, and if you give nuance, you have to justify the nuance. That was a promise to me. That was the promise.
I've expressed that there is some, but I haven't given it.
Exactly. And we've basically promised each other not to do that, right?
Which I've already explained my position multiple times.
So you're gonna betray?
Or it just seems like you're taking what I'm saying and then cutting it in half and then reducing that by half and then going with that rather than the full suite of what it is that I said.
I'm just holding you to your word, bro. That's it. I'm just asking.
Are you?
It's crazy how you're not able to commit to like the simplest statements that you make. Like you've not been able to commit to
everything that I've said. I've committed.
You've not been able to.
You just don't
like
one that I'm like
statement.
certain of it.
Yeah, but
yes, you have committed to multiple statements that I've said.
I'm not even asking you. I'm not even asking you to give out a clear yes or no answer. I'm not even asking you that. I'm giving you the option to say I don't know, or to give nuance, but then to justify that nuance. To not just say.
But you're not asking what it is you want the nuance on.
I asked you. I said you can. I asked you for two options. Is it bias or is it ignorance? And then you said it's both. And then I asked
what was
you
the explanation that I
gave? Wait. And then I asked you to confirm that. 2 sentences after that, I asked you, so you think it's either bias or ignorance? Only these two things. And then you say, yes, but there is nuance. So then I'm asking you, bro, if you say there is nuance, justify it. Just justify it.
Yeah, I did.
That's the only thing I'm asking you for.
How did I do that?
Before you haven't justified that. Before you just said.
Yes, I have.
Before you said.
Would you like me to do it again?
That was the 2 reasons that you gave me why banks are not lending out the money.
How did I explain out those 2 reasons?
You explained them out perfectly. I'm not saying anything against that.
Yeah, and what did I say?
Wait, what do you mean? What did you say? We can't go.
When I explained what I meant when I said that banks are ignorant of cooperative firms and have a bias against them.
I'm not challenging these answers.
That I said?
I'm not challenging these answers.
Sure as hell sounds like it.
No, I'm challenging the fact that you're not committing to say, yes, I gave this answer and this is my answer. That's my problem. That's the problem.
Yeah, but I did give the answer, and now I'm asking you what the answer was.
You said bias because they don't want a market socialist society, and you said ignorance. They're not aware of these new business structures. That's what you said, correct?
For the most part, that's what I said. Yeah.
Bro, this is a mental health disorder. I swear to God, like you're not able to just say yes or no and to just stick to something. This is crazy.
Yeah, and I don't have to. When I don't feel that the full suite of what I explained is being expressed, I have the right to acknowledge that in my answers.
You have to
You're
justify
the one
the
getting
nuance.
upset about that.
You have
and I think
to
it's because you're not fully following what I'm saying.
No, you have to justify the nuance.
And
that's what I'm asking from you. No, you just
and then
did.
you keep expressing how I answered without the nuance, so that I answer in a way that acknowledges that it was still there.
Do you know what justifying the nuance
means?
We still haven't
really talked about like socialism or Marxism.
I know. It's so sad.
That we were going to talk to.
It's really, really sad because we are not able to have a real conversation basically, and that's like it's shocking. It's shocking. Like, so do you know what the promise was that you gave me at the beginning of our conversation?
I haven't made any promises.
The commitment you made? You don't remember? Do you know that we have this, like, this is all recorded?
What does that have to do with anything?
Like,
do you think that I'm unaware of that fact? Do you think I think that I'm doing terribly here? That I'm the one that's misunderstanding?
I mean, you have said at the beginning, I asked you to commit to answering questions that was yes, no, I don't know. And if you want to give nuance, then you have to justify it. You can't just say, but there is nuance. You have to justify why there is nuance. That's what you committed to, and that's what you promised to do. And now I have done every question, and after that, every question I've asked you, you have said, yes, but there is nuance, or no, but there is nuance, and you haven't justified any of it.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Like when you asked me about the nuance behind being ignorant and bias, what is it that I said?
When I asked you, so it's either ignorance or bias. That's what you're claiming, right? You said yes for the most part. And that means you're saying yes, but there might be a third or fourth or fifth. That is
not what I'm saying.
That's what it means.
Yes, but that simplistic explanation of it isn't enough to capture everything.
But that means that there is other reasons.
Which is why I'm still answering yes, because it's okay. It's okay. Look, It's okay if things get a little bit reductive or simplistic. I'm just acknowledging that it is. When you tell me that what I answered, which I did, is a mix of ignorance and bias, that's true. You're not wrong, but there is still nuance contained under that.
And if that's the case,
already discussed it,
and if that's the case, I want you to name
acknowledging
it.
that it's still there.
I want you to
and
name
I did.
that
I said,
nuance.
when I say ignorance, what I mean is that cooperatives are just really kind of unknown. They're not really well known about, and they're not the traditional method. This isn't the thing that we've been doing for a long time, and it is in virtue of that there is a favoritism towards what it is we have been doing and have been using, which we can see in a variety of instances.
We've talked about all of this. You've said all of that. You've said all of that.
Nuance.
You've said,
and so when I acknowledge that is present, I'm not understanding what you're getting upset about.
All of that, all of what you're saying, what you're saying is they don't know. That's ignorance.
For the most part, that's what I'm saying.
Bro,
that's I didn't just say I don't know. I said there's some things that they don't know, but that this also includes traditional methods. That we're doing kind of the same thing that we've always done, and that there's a favoritism toward that.
Bro,
so it's not that they don't know.
Is there any other reason?
Don't know, and that there is a favoritism towards something else.
Is there any other reason other than bias or not knowing, i.e., ignorance? If we believe that what you're saying is the truth, it would be ignorance. Is there any other reason why they would treat cooperatives worse than traditional businesses?
Well, I don't know if you would consider it independent from either ignorance or bias, but favoritism.
That's bias. Bro, come on.
Okay.
Like, come on.
So then I've explained this probably 5 times now.
So it is. So there is no other reason. So you can just say yes.
I have.
That's the two reasons.
Yeah, and I have said yes.
You've said yes.
You just
for
don't
the
like
most
that
part.
I've qualified yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And what I'm saying for the most part is remember all of the nuance that I explained in that answer.
But all of the things that you said are exactly already subsumized under ignorance. And name one thing you said that cannot be summarized under ignorance.
Do you know what it means
or bias?
To explain something simplistically?
Bro, do you know what it means to answer a question?
I've answered every question I've been asked. You just don't like that I haven't like been 100% certain, exactly, absolutely yes. I go, yeah, that's for the most part what I'm saying. Which is an acceptable answer, and I've never had issues with anybody other than Darth accepting answers like that.
That's true. I understand. I feel him now.
Yeah, it's probably not a good thing to feel for Darth on these kinds of things. Most people would say that that the reason why he does it is because he doesn't give a shit about nuance. He wants to gloss over that.
But you see how I ask you
that are expressed in simplistic ways so that certain arguments can be ran. And that's why we ignore the nuance. And that's why I refuse to let the nuance be ignored. For the most part,
that's not the
you're
truth.
Capturing everything that I'm saying accurately.
But that's not true though. I am the one who's actually asking for the nuance. I am the one who's asking you to. I am asking you to justify the nuance.
I'm listening, but I do have to run to the bathroom quick.
To name the. Okay.
You can keep going. I can still hear you. I have my headphones in, but I just got to run to the bathroom quick.
No, I'm gonna wait. That's all right.